He speaks. The talented Mr. Santos finally decided that it was his time to share his story. And guess how he addressed his constituents? On Steve Bannon's podcast, of course, which was guest hosted by none other than Matt Gaetz. And here is what Santos said.
I came here to serve the people, not politicians and party leaders, and I'm going to do just that. I was elected by 142,000 people. Until those same 142,000 people tell me they don't want me, we'll find out in 2 years.
I mean, who cares if those folks already called on him to resign? In that same interview, Santos fibbed a couple more times, telling Gaetz that he didn't have any preconceived notions on what committees he wanted to serve. Not true. Back in November, he broadcast to millions of New Yorkers that he hoped to serve on the House Financial Services or Foreign Affairs committees, based on his fake 14-year background in capital markets and his multicultural background. He also refused to tell Gaetz how he was able to loan his campaign $700,000.
I've worked my entire life. I've lived an honest life. I've never been accused, sued of any bad doings.
Really? Well, despite his claims, we continue to get disturbing new information about his tangled web of lies. Mother Jones has new reporting on one person who may be key to unraveling Santos's super sketchy campaign finances. That person, his campaign treasurer, is named in a recent complaint filed with the Federal Election Commission, alleging Santos illegally hid the source of the money that he loaned to his campaign through a straw donor scheme. Late this afternoon, the New York Times reported that additional questions are emerging about a state political action committee run by that campaign treasurer and by the congressman's sister. According to the Times, the PAC called Rise New York was apparently paying for wages and professional services for Santos's campaign staff, including his press secretary. The PAC also seemed to pay for expenditures that just so happened to take place at many of Santos's favorite restaurants and gas stations. Now, PACs are allowed under state law to give directly to candidates or to authorize committees, but they can't spend it just any way they want and in any other ways. Well, I'm joined now by David Corn, Washington bureau chief for Mother Jones and author of American Psychosis, a historical investigation of how the Republican Party went crazy. A subtle title for a subtle man. David, explain to me, because I am fascinated by, the lies are kooky and weird.
Yeah.
But the money, where did he get it?
Well, we don't know. And I have to say, having covered politics, I hate for a couple of decades, I've never seen a single congressional campaign that has led to so much investigative journalism. In the last few days, the New York Times, the Washington Post, Daily Beast, Talking Points Memo, and Mother Jones, and probably others, have all had very different breakthrough investigative pieces, including the one we put out today with my colleague, Noah Leonard. And the money's flowing in a couple of different ways. There's the $7,000 that comes into his campaign. The Times talks about hundreds of thousands of dollars coming in possibly through an illegal outfit that he set up. There is money coming in personally, coming into the campaign. There are disbursements going out that are not identified where the money is going. And what we focused on in particular was that he, at the same time, all this is going on, he's also trying to make money in politics. He and a bunch of people who he worked with at a company in Florida that closed down after it was alleged to have run a Ponzi scheme. Now, he was not implicated in this, but the company was. He and several colleagues there, with his treasurer from Long Island, people in Florida, treasurer in Long Island, they got together, formed a company that then tried to make money off a woman raising a lot of money to run against AOC in a district next to him. Now, he's running for Congress. He has a campaign treasurer, and he is still now trying to work with these people to bring in money into his own pocket. This company called Red Strategies USA is hitting up other Republicans in the New York area to get money, and it makes some, and then it suddenly stops and doesn't do anything, and we don't know why. Like a lot of his enterprises, they come and they go. And the thing is that he's claiming on his financial disclosure forms that in a period of 1 to 2 years, he made between $3.5 million and $11.5 million in income.
And this is after not being able to pay his rent.
They couldn't pay him after he had a $55,000 a year job. This is money, and you know what? And it is against the law to lie on these disclosure statements. And even Matt Gaetz, even with a friendly interview today with Matt Gaetz, when Gaetz asked him about the $700,000 that he says came from the company that paid him millions, he could not identify the source. And he made a joke that it wasn't from Burisma, or China. So he is hiding the source of this income. His campaign finance filings look really dodgy, with money coming in, money going out. And at the same time, he's creating this, I don't know if we can call it grifting, but this other source of revenue with using his political connections to raise money in other campaigns.
Right.
It is a definition of a tangled web here.
And why is Florida always involved in everything?
I'm sorry about
that. I knew Florida was going to come up eventually. So at this point, as you said, there's this tangled web where he might have lied on his disclosure forms, which, as you said, is illegal. He has this PAC that's paying his sister. People are earning money off it personally. He's going to his favorite restaurants. All of this on this fundraising dime. You now have 7 House members who have called on him to resign. Anthony D'Esposito was on earlier today on MSNBC saying he's got to go, right? But Kevin McCarthy seems dug in to stick with him.
Well,
why?
we know. I think it's pretty obvious. He has a 4-person majority. Right. He can't lose anybody. Now, people say if it's that close, why does it matter? Well, it matters because people move on, people get sick, people pass, and if you're going to have a close vote on something, you need every vote you can get, particularly if there's a recall vote, which he has now given, the terrorists in the Republican Party the right to do, to basically have a no confidence vote anytime. So every vote matters. I think it's pretty clear that if Santos, either at some point will not be a member of Congress in that district, and it's likely to go back to a Democrat. So if he pushed or threw Santos out, which the House does have the power to do, it could become a Democratic seat. McCarthy, we've seen how much he's traded away in the last week or so.
Dignity.
Yeah, so I don't think he's not going to force Santos out and lose another vote. He said today, it was really interesting. He said, well, everybody's innocent until they're proven guilty. Yeah. Now, that's true in a court of law. But if someone comes in and starts lying and and snorting drugs, on the House floor, whatever they're doing, you can come to a conclusion and say that person should not be a member of this body. So he is hiding behind this rhetoric, when it's quite clear, as we see with the New York State Republicans, they believe he's dragging down the party. They want him gone. McCarthy says, my lifeline is really short in the House. I can't afford to get anybody go.
It's going to be interesting to see how this come back with more developments, because my other question is, why him? Why would this person be fundraising specifically for him in a seat that was likely going to be a Democratic seat?
Well, the fact that he got so much money is very mysterious.
It's very mysterious. David Corn, always appreciate you. And by the way, when the speaker says that he was elected, no, he wasn't elected. Somebody they thought was George Santos, who no one knows who he is. Thank you very much, David Corn. Really appreciate you.